Adam, is that who we have on the agenda for the most part? I
Yes.
saw you at the 911 service this morning, Adam.
Yes, sir.
Good for you.
I got some really good photos too that he sent
Did
us.
you like them?
Yeah.
Sure, whatever I can do to make your job easier. Jimmy, just
I love
let
it.
me know.
Hey, I love it. Say something
Okay.
in the meeting about it.
I think, Adam, you are the featured guest here today.
Want to start?
Sure.
All right.
You're up.
Let's go.
All right.
There's nothing formal for the work session. We're just,
Oh, that's good to know. I did not. Thanks for listening. Good morning, everyone. Commissioners, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Adam Ingram. I'm the Seneca County Emergency Management Director. My job here in the county is to help prepare, respond, recover, mitigate, and protect against all emergencies and disasters. I work very closely with the fire, police, EMS, government, local, county, state, federal. Should we have anything that happens, for example, Hurricane Florence is about to make landfall. The Ohio River down south is rising, but we won't see anything here. But if something happens, for example, my office is there to help respond to that, whatever it may be. This past weekend, we did get called for sandbags to help mitigate some houses. But it's kind of giving you an example of what I do as an emergency manager. I help everyone coordinate and play well together. Now today is kind of an interesting day, obviously being 9/11. After 9/11, a lot of things changed in the world of emergency management. September was declared National Preparedness Month, along with Hurricane Katrina, Sandy, Ike, Maria, Irma. As we go forward, September has always been really a focus of what can we do as a nation to prepare ourselves to further our community, our survivability, our working together and everything like that. So as you think about 9/11 and where you were for that, where you were for Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy in 2010, Sandy Hook shootings, these kind of things. Those are the things we need to remember to catapult us forward so that we do better, we prepare better. So as you take a second, just try to remember back on 9/11. I was in 3rd grade at that time. I know for a lot of people that's a long time ago. So I was called out of school early. Our school got early dismissal. No idea why. I got home. My sister was crying in front of the TV saying we were under attack. Excuse me. I wear the name of a man I knew. He was killed in Iraq from 9/11. Excuse me. I had a lot of friends get killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. 14. I went to school with, I grew up with, I worked with. They didn't make it home back to their families, their kids, their wives, their husbands. It's really hard. It really is. I apologize for crying. 9/11 is a really emotional day for my family. My brother went off to war. He did make it back, but a lot of his friends did not. Obviously that leaves a lasting impression on a lot of people. Being very emotional, invested. And that's why as an emergency manager, it's my job to make sure people are prepared and ready to respond so they don't have to go through the trauma that a lot of people went through in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now that's a little bit different in terms of, Hurricane Florence versus terrorism. But in the world of preparedness, it all really matters a lot, especially in the world we are today. We have 2 universities in this county. We have a lot of schools. We don't want to think about it happening here. But if someone decides to take a gun to school, we have to be ready as a community to know how to respond and how to group together as a community. If everyone has an iPhone for me, for example, I have a 7. The side button on your phone, if you click it 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll go into this lock mode. You have slide, medical ID, and emergency SOS. If you slide that medical ID and nothing comes up, you're not helping yourself to prepare. That'll give you contact information for emergency first responders. It'll give you the ability to make an emergency 911 call that'll actually ping dispatch to tell you where you are. These are just some things we can do to make sure that we're ready and we're prepared. Now, I apologize again, I'm a little scatterbrained after that. I get emotional when I talk about that. I'll try to regroup myself. I apologize. But it really illustrates the change that where we've come. Now, if you think 20 years ago, this would have been something you'd have on your mobile device just instantly like that, that's not the case. Even after all the things that happened in the 90s, during the Clinton administration with his hurricanes, or the first Bush or anything like that, we really didn't have this whole community shift in emergency preparedness until really 9/11, Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Sandy. As of recently, Gordon just made landfall a couple days ago, the tropical storm, and then Hurricane Florence is currently a Category 4, expected to be a Category 5 by the end of tonight or tomorrow. Obviously, when it makes landfall, North Carolina and Virginia areas are going to be severely impacted. Now, evacuations have already started there, but if you personally think, take a second and understand, what does that mean for them? Do you think they're ready? Do you think they've boarded up their houses? Do you think that's going to do any good? Would you stay? Would you go? People always say, I've seen a lot of hurricanes. I've survived a lot. People who didn't leave Katrina said, this is just going to make another one. And then we had thousands of people die because of that ignorance. We have to make sure we shift our community mindset and preparedness. This isn't something that it's just like the other ones, or it can't happen here, or it's not going to affect me. You can't underplay emergency preparedness. In my world, everything is best left as is on the table, practical, factual information. That's hard to deal with a lot of times, but if I don't give you, as a county official, give you the information that you need to properly respond and act on, what good am I doing to you and the rest of the community? If I give the commissioners wrong information about the Sandusky River that says, oh, it probably won't be that high this week, but I didn't take a second and look at the hydrology reports, or if I didn't take my due diligence and talk to the state or the National Weather Service about what kind of rain forecasting we're going to see, then I did not do my job to help the commissioners make informed decisions about the city of Tiffin and what kind of impacts that can have, or for the rest of the county. Now, luckily I did. We were going to have about 5.2 feet of water, but as the predictions were updated, that was decreased, and we didn't have to worry about that as much. Look at the Ohio River, though. Their predictions changed, and now it's about to be minor flooding by this afternoon sometime. And then it'll be greater than that later this evening, and probably more once Hurricane Florence makes landfall in plus 2 days or so. Now, that's all very weather related. Here in the county, obviously, our biggest concerns, straight line winds, snowstorms, ice storms, and then the occasional, massive rain. But luckily, we haven't had a huge rainfall and make the Sandusky kind of swell to that point in a couple of years, which is good for us. Now, in terms of taking that and understanding what that looks like for the weather aspect of things, and doing your part, so that means that you need to talk to your family, talk to your friends, your spouse, your kids, your relatives, to understand what they're doing to help you and you to help them. Do you have 10 numbers memorized off the top of your head right now? Are they all in your immediate vicinity? Are they outside of your state? Something I tell people to do is write at least 5 numbers down and keep in your wallet or your purse. 5 numbers that aren't in your immediate vicinity. My sister lives in San Francisco. Her number's written down. Why? Because if something happens to me or my phone dies during a disaster, something's chaotic. You're going to do that number wrong. You're going to tell someone that number wrong, or someone's not going to be able to help you. Something does happen to you. So write down at least 5 numbers, keep in your wallet or your purse, but make sure those 5 numbers are outside of your immediate vicinity. So, for example, if you have anyone in Tiffin, make sure you leave numbers for people in Columbus, Toledo, Cleveland, Indiana, and so on and so forth. You can even do Fostoria, just outside that immediate vicinity. Another one is talk to your kids if you have them, or talk to your relatives about what your fire safety plan is. If your house burns up, where you're going. Do you have people you can go to? Do you think you do? Do you know you do? Do your kids know how to respond to that? Do they know how to get to the house? Do they know where to go? Do they know who to call? We just recently had an incident where Seneca County EMS responded to this really great call. The husband and wife were able to help the kids. The wife called 911 while the farmer got his tractor, went down the road, and flipped the car over. That's not something they talked about probably, but they were prepared to do what was necessary, as in take the kids, pull them inside, keep them safe, call 911, and then he can go respond as he needs to, as he saw fit. Do you think your kids would understand? Go find the nearest house, quarter mile down the road, in the middle of the night with no lights on? I don't think a lot of kids can. We don't really talk about it in schools, but it's our job as community, and our job as government officials, is to make sure our communities are ready like that. It all starts with the little kids. They bring it home to their parents. They talk to them. I need you to sign this. You need to understand what it is. Can you talk to me about what we're supposed to do? It's really easy to sit there at dinner, even if it's over TV dinners, or it's a dinner at the dinner table, or where you're going out for pizza. Talk about what you do in the event of emergency. Who do you call if something happens to you? Where are your kids going to go? Do they know who's going to take care of them if something happens to you? I remember the first time my parents did. My mom and dad were in a small plane. My mom texted me. Dad just called a mayday in the plane. These are the documents. This is where they're located. We love you. That was it. I was, 20 years old. I had no idea that before that text message I got from my mom. That could have been a terrible incident if that was the last thing I ever heard from him. I know as I got more into this career field, that's not the way people should do it. You should know these things beforehand. Once your kids become of age, they start driving, they need to know these things because then they're at fault. I mean, they're at, not at fault, they are a potential liable for that. If something happens to you, they can drive to see you, they can drive to get you. When they're 18 years old, what happens then? Especially when they go off to college. Ohio State University had a massive dorm room flood. They had a pipe burst. They had to evacuate 8,000 kids out of 2 dorms. They had to put them up in one night. Do you think your kids know how to just talk to people? I need a place to stay. University did help, sure. But if you can't effectively communicate what's happening and what's going on and what you need to do, you're not doing yourself very good. So it's our job as a community to help the younger generations understand and prepare for that and get ready for that and respond to that. In your cars, do you have windshield washer fluid just in case if something's happening and you need it? In the winter, do you keep a spare blanket, gloves, hat in the back of your car if your car breaks down in the winter? Out here in Tiffin, if you're driving to Fostoria, you may be stranded for yourself for a while. What happens if you have AT&T and your service goes down? Mostly Verizon County. These are the kind of things you have to think about as we go forward from this meeting, really. Hopefully it's a call to action for a lot of people, especially as it's National Preparedness Month. I am making a lot of due diligence and illustrating a lot of things we do in terms of fire safety plan, talking to your kids, making a plan, getting prepared for travel, letting people know where you're going and how long you'll be and things like that. But we really have to take the responsibility as individuals to make sure people around us are understanding of that. I know we get caught up in a lot of what we're doing, but none of that's going to matter if you don't have a plan for if something happens and then after that. If that makes any sense. If it doesn't, we'll think about it like this. You're driving to work, and you haven't talked to your wife and your kids about if something happens to me, these are my wishes and this is where all the information is located. Something happens to you, and then what? Everyone's having anxiety, they're nervous, they don't know what's happening, a lot's going on. Decisions have to be made very quickly, and if they don't know what you wanted, or if your kids aren't understanding of, I love you, make sure this is the kind of things that can happen, just be prepared for it. You're setting yourself up for failure, or setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment in your families, because things happen very quickly in emergency preparedness world, response world, if you will. I've had the chance to go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee for the wildfires, Fort Murray, Canada for the wildfires, Wyoming, Michigan for tornadoes. I had a chance to go down to the hurricanes, Louisiana. I had a chance to go to wildfires out west as a wildland firefighter. I've responded to disasters all over the world, all over the country, and it all looks the same essentially when the people who die or get really impacted didn't have a plan beforehand. They didn't keep their insurance documents protected. They didn't have a lockbox or a copy in the cloud with their insurance documents, their copy of their driver's license, a copy of their passport, the next of kin information, things like that. Oops, sorry. If your house burns down, those documents, maybe they're in a lockbox, but for how long is that box fire rated? If you think about it, it's not very long, especially in the Gatlinburg wildfires. Those fires got so hot, gun safes were melting. I picked up 45 revolvers that had melted because those fires got so hot. They were in gun safes, but they just melted, right? So you have to take those documents, do your part, scan them, get them in the cloud. Because if you have a copy of it, then that can help the Social Security Office, the Department of State, people like that who need those photos or that documentation that this is who you are, this is what you have, especially for insurance purposes. They're not going to do anything unless you have some sort of proof you are who you say you are. You have the documents to say this is the insurance policy I have, because your phone's not going to be around. You access it on a computer. Do you know your login information? Mine's my thumbprint. If I lost my phone, I'd have to reset dozens of passwords. I know a lot of people would. You can write them down, or you can keep them in a cloud-based password lock safe. These are all types of things we can do. Just be more prepared. When we were in Wyoming, Michigan for a tornado, it's a very small community. It's about the size of Fostoria, just right outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan. They've had about a dozen tornadoes in the last 20 years. For whatever reason, that part of Michigan just gets tornadoes. But a lot of the people just, they weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for a tornado to rip through their house, but their neighbor's house was 100% perfectly fine. Now, that's a big wake-up call for a lot of people, especially if you're not ready to literally pick up and get out and have the chance to get nothing. But if you are prepared, you have those documents somewhere on the cloud. You have those contacts in your phone or your purse. You know people to notify. Your kids know what to do. You know, what happens if you are out late at work or you're on date night or something, the babysitter with your kids, do they know what to do? Do they know where to go? Do they know who to call? Can they get in the car and drive away to the fire station? Maybe. Well, I mean, what are the things you're looking at? Those are the really important things you have to think about with emergency preparedness. Another big aspect of emergencies and disasters, on the day of a disaster, everything is chaos. Everything is absolute chaos. Nothing nothing you plan is going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. You know, there was a general recently, when he retired after 35 years in the Army. He said, nothing is harder than responding to a disaster, even war. Now, this is a guy, who served through the Gulf War, OEF, OIF. So once he got out, he was in the Army and then he went to the National Guard, so he was responding to disasters all over the country. Disasters aren't easy, and they're just chaotic. But we can do our best to prepare for them, be prepared for them. So when the day comes, you at least have an idea of what you need to do, what's supposed to happen, and then when everything kind of settles down, get back to some sort of normalcy. So how to recover from the disaster, that's a really important thing. So if you can't recover, then you're just stuck in this chaotic world, you're just stuck in this sense of chaos. And that's when other things start to develop, like your anxiety, your depression. Your community may not respond, your community may not be whole to you again, but you can do your part if you take the time beforehand, today, tomorrow, going forward, and really prepare for that emergency, prepare for that disaster. The day after 9/11, we lost 2,996 people on 9/11 the day of. The day after 9/11, does anyone know what happened? On September 12th, 2001, 91% of New York City went back to work. They got up, put their ties on, went back into the city, went to work. Why? Because they knew they had to. They needed that some sort of continuity. They need that normalcy back in their life. That's a hard thing to grasp. It really is. How can people who just experienced such a tragedy go back to work? The human spirit's resilient. That's really who we are. We're very resilient people, but you have to do your part in understanding that as well. So I thank you for letting me speak, commissioners.
Thank you.
Does everyone have any questions for me? I know this really isn't a question and answer, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free.
Do you have a business card?
I do have a business card. Which one? My office is at the Fairgrounds Public Safety Building. If you or your family, your church group, your school group, anything that you're associated with wants to talk about emergency preparedness, I'm more than willing to come out and speak to any of you, all of you, your families even, to help you do that. Or I can get you the right people to talk to. That's what I'm here for. It's here for the citizens of Seneca County. Thank you.
So we do have a proclamation signed by, thank you. Proclamation for National Preparedness Month for September 2018, entitled Being Prepared Today is Preparing for Tomorrow. And we will make that a matter of record that both Commissioner Stacy and I have signed, and we will get Commissioner Thomas to sign it when he returns. But we appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, any other topics for the work session, Harry? Commissioner?
Is this just come out?
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Just come up. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute or 8-minute break.
8-minute recess.